potato cheese people, cracker people, you know, thingy people. Crock-pot people. You're like, look, man, I got a great town for you to open up a crock-pot factory, and it is in North Carolina where the taxes are perfect for businesses to come in. You've got a bunch of willing workers who are ready to get to work. You need to build crock-pots in North Carolina's first district, right? In the service center. So you got the 95 corridor where you have all kinds of great people ready to get to work. It's dead. It cuts through our district like it's cutting through a desert. And you don't see any businesses or any growth along that corridor. The other one is further east in Currituck, Camden area, where you got future I-87, which has been future I-87 for a very long time, coming out of the Norfolk port. Now, Norfolk is saturated. There's no more land there to build businesses there. We have the perfect place for it, but we have kind of a weak road and a weak infrastructure coming into North Carolina. People need jobs. Get a job, you don't have to be on a government subsidy. And that's the way to get folks back to work. Get the jobs there. Forcing people off of benefits just creates, one problem, but giving them jobs, people want to work. They don't want to sit home. They want something to do. And Don Davis is scaling it back completely. So the message is not hard. If you look at America right now, the message is, I'm going to say it, it's beef, okay? Not steak, although I love steak, I brought it down for it, but it's beef. So it is the border. The border. Fentanyl, we have the highest number of drug overdoses in America's history right now. It's rising every month. Don Davis and Joe Biden have done nothing to stop that. You'll see Josh Stein talking about, we need to stop overdoses, we need to take care of people more. I'm like, no, you need to close the freaking border. The drug cartels are running the border. It's an international war zone down there. No joke. So we got to close the border for a number of reasons. One of our sheriffs up in Gates County caught a terrorist 2 months ago. Ray Campbell called me. Got the terrorist watch list. We still have not heard back from Don Davis or Joe Biden as to why he was there and how he got in. He's a Yemen guy, and when they finally got him after a 6-hour standoff, they found Russian military training manuals underneath his hidey hole. And we don't know why he's here or how he got here. Okay, so that's the border. B. The next E is the economy. We've got to stop the crazy spending. You've got to stop printing money. It's causing inflation. I mean, it's just nuts. The E after that is energy. We're chasing ridiculous pipe dreams on green energy. Eventually, I think we'll get there. Technology marches forward day by day, right? But in the meantime, we have millions of gallons and hectares of clean energy that we produce more cleanly than any other nation in the world, sitting in the earth, or we're selling it to other countries. I mean, it is ridiculous. And the more green energy we have, and the more that Biden clamps down on fuel companies, the higher the prices go, and that impacts everything. The fourth letter is an F. Foreign relations. Now, most folks think about that a little bit less, but frankly, what did we have under Donald Trump? World peace. We had the Abraham Accords. We had Putin doing his own thing, leaving everybody alone. We had Middle East was calm, or as calm as those people get. Middle East was calm. Europe's kind of doing their own thing, building their forces up. Borders are secure. World peace. What are we now? The world is on fire. The world is on fire. And the thing I want less than anybody else in this room, I promise you, is to send young Americans to fight and to put boots on the ground in any of these places. We already have boots on the ground there. Biden just doesn't talk about it. I got a friend of mine, he's a retired Navy SEAL. He's a good friend of mine. And he texts me, he has over the past year, he's got a young daughter who joined the military. And she's there with some air defense capabilities, shooting missiles out of the sky, right? They have no leadership there. Their unit is at half strength. She is serving, she's a lieutenant. She's serving in a major's position. So she's got 2 years in the Army, and she is serving in in a capacity that normally a person with 15 years in the Army would have. Because the Army is so short. Because who wants to join Biden's military? Nobody does. They don't trust him. She is overseas. She is in Iraq right now, shooting down missiles that are coming out of Iran. And we're all terrified of him. And as a dad, I see what he's doing, and I see how Biden put his daughter out there and all of her troops in harm's way for fights that didn't need to happen. Because who armed Iran? Biden armed Iran. Who sent them billions? Obama and Biden. We're arming our enemy and then putting our children out there to fight them. No more. No more. You guys don't want your kids to do it. I don't want my kids to do it. I don't want to see it. So I'm going to end this on just the happiest note. You fight with a happy heart and with a grin on your face, because that's the last thing the enemy's going to see. So that is us. We're going to fight with a happy heart. We're going to win. Two things are really, really important. Talk to your neighbors. Tell everybody, we got to vote. I think, frankly, these hardcore Democrats who love Biden, they've got to be so depressed right now. They're probably staying home in November. I mean, if I were forced to vote for Biden and didn't have the brain cells to vote for someone else, I would stay home with a blanket over my head. Luckily, we're a lot smarter than that. So that's number one, is you got to get the word out and say, look, there's a better option. Number two, read up and down the ballot. I mean, seriously, if we don't have judges to support us going into the future, we could lose the majority soon, right? Up and down the ballot, state, judicial, school board, everything, because that's the way we got to take it back. Number three, every candidate needs money. Every candidate needs money. As I said, we have enough to get elected, but it's all sitting in your pockets. If anybody wants to write a check, it's Laurie, Buckhout for Congress. We're happy to take them. Me is happy to take them. And I'm not coming here asking for money. I'm just coming here so you guys can see me and know me and ask me questions and get comfortable with who I am. So, kind of in a nutshell, I'm a workhorse, not a show horse. I like to work. I prod over. I'm loyal till death. I'm loyal till death. I've been called loyal to a fault in the past because I will crawl through broken glass for all of you. As long as I'm in office and after, I will crawl through broken glass to get done whatever you want done. Number three, I'm a fighter. I like to fight. I will not back down. And I'm not afraid of much. Like most folks who either grew up in the country or went to combat, I've been shot at. Sometimes it was my sister missing me with a pellet gun, and the other time it was a bad guy. But, you know, after that, whether it's a big sister shooting you with a pellet gun or a bad guy, you're not afraid of much. So, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of being talked about. I'm not afraid of being canceled. I'm not afraid of some crazy Democrat like AOC yelling at me up in the... Can you see that? I mean, up here, like, oh, go ahead. They're like, child, please. Just, oh, child, please. So, yeah, you know, you guys aren't afraid. That's why you stood up. I'm not afraid. I'm a happy warrior. We're going to win huge. It's going to be a great time, and we just have to keep fighting. Yep. Y'all know how to fight. Yep. So any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What are we doing about voter integrity? Because bottom line, voter integrity.
Listen, I got to tell you, I'm not the voter integrity queen. The NCGOP is, my guy. Where's Mary Helen? Mary Helen can talk a whole lot more about voter integrity than I can. She's been doing this longer than I have and working with the GOP and working with the North Carolina voter integrity folks. So we have a whole lot of poll watchers. Anything you want to say about that, Mary Helen?
Well, we've got two other hands up. Did y'all want to say something? Oh, Kim?
I was going to add to that. Having representation for all of our candidates, both inside as observers and outside, because just as much goes on outside as inside. But if we are there, it helps deter. Doesn't stop it. Some of us we're never going to stop. But if we're there,
are looking for poll observers, not only poll observers, but poll greeters, like Kim was just saying. Things go on outside, and we're training our poll greeters just like we're training our poll observers, the same training. We also are looking for poll workers to go and work in the polls. That's super important. Nash County is one of those. We need poll workers. But there was going to be ample opportunity for training coming on that in the very near future. And your name is? Oh, we will become very good friends. Yes, please do fill in. Do you guys not have a sign-in sheet for your table?
Oh, we do.
Oh, you do? Okay, make sure you put your name, address, email address, and phone number on there, and we will be contacting you.
Okay, great.
Yes. I would also like to say, real quick, is North Carolina is #1 in election integrity out of all 50 states, and that was for 2022 for midterms. And actually, the RNC is taking the model that was built here for 2022 and multiplying that times 50, so, or times 49. So all 49 states will be able to hopefully have the same model that we had here.
Laurie, I have a question for you. This might be a little hard question, but you're battle tested and I know you're tough. So, I was thinking a lot, especially this last week or so, about how disappointed conservatives and Republicans are in our representation in Congress because personally, I'm not speaking for everyone, I feel like very little has been done that needed to be done. I do even think that some of the folks that call themselves Republicans are not behaving like Republicans. Call them rhinos, call them neocons, call them what you want. From your background, which I've looked a little bit at, it's very easy to find. So you tell us about yourself. It seems like you've spent a lot of time swimming in the swamp. So can you take a minute or so and tell us how you will not succumb, you will not appease, you will not give in to the neocons, the ruling elite class, all of those folks who are calling themselves Republicans but behaving like Democrats. Assure us of that because you're our candidate and we want to vote for you.
Absolutely. Okay, so my background is, my dad and mom were both World War II veterans. My father fought in the Battle of Bulge. He was a POW. Both my parents fought the Nazis. My mother was an Army Air Corps flight nurse flying back and forth from Germany to the UK and keeping critically wounded soldiers alive during combat. So, and my dad was in the Battle of the Bulge and was a POW. So after that happened, he was captured. He escaped 3 times. He got drugged back twice. On the second escape attempt, a German POW guard knocked out one of his molars with a rifle butt. He was captured again. And the third escape attempt, he got out. He left that tooth behind, and he took a whole bunch of folks with him. So then, okay, my parents grew up on farms in Minnesota during the Depression. They were farmers. Nobody had any money, so you had to join the military to get off the farm. My grandparents and great-grandparents are entirely self-made. They were immigrants. They immigrated from Norway and Sweden in the 1860s and 1870s. They took wagon trains and trains out to the Midwest where it was a great land rush. And they wanted to colonize the West, so to speak, so you could get 40 acres. If you could make it arable and keep alive for 3 years on those 40 acres, then you could keep them. So all these Scandinavian members of my family went up there. They still have thousands of acres up there, but they're completely self-made. So no government help, no nothing. So that's kind of the roots of the family. My dad stayed in Korea War and Vietnam, was a combat veteran of all 3 wars as an infantryman. And then we retired. He retired in Shenandoah Valley where we had a cattle farm and grew up there. So I grew up working. I grew up on farms. And it was not an easy life. It was, you only need 1 pair of shoes for school a year. This was in the 70s, and that's not going to make a little girl happy. So, so I took jobs to get by. One of my jobs in the summertime, I had to work on the farmer courts seen totalitarianism, especially when the wall went down. You go over and see what was the Soviet Union look like. And you can see what happened when people were living on what the government decided to give them, right? And that was nothing. If you wanted to get married, you couldn't get married because you had to wait 7 years to get an apartment. If you wanted a car, that was a 5-year wait for a 2-stroke engine Lada. I'm not even joking. When the wall fell, I went over to East Berlin and walked around. They had a department store and they had a glass case here. And me being a woman, I'm in an army uniform, but I still want to see the jewelry, so I go up. And in this glass case were a string of red plastic beads. A string of red plastic beads. That was their precious jewelry because you couldn't get anything else. So, and they had a brass cuff. I bought that cuff, and I still have it as a reminder, just a thin little cheap brass cuff. It was in that jewelry case. So I've seen totalitarianism, and I've seen that hard work and self-reliance are the keys to joy and a happy life. So, did my 26 years in the Army in 2 combat zones. I saw totalitarianism again in Iraq, right? Somebody promises you, this is how you're going to live, we'll take care of you. So, came back to the Pentagon, I got assigned there. When you get assigned to the Pentagon, I got promoted. What they do is, when you reach colonel, lieutenant colonel, you get to a higher rank, you become corporate. And your job there is now to be a statesman, and it's to be an ambassador. Basically, you're working in the Pentagon with Congress, trying to get good programs out to troops. So I created the Army's electronic warfare program because we were getting hit with IEDs over in Iraq, and I didn't want to see any more maimed troops. You spent 1 day on Walter Reed, and we've been hit with them. And when I say hit with them, I go like this because they were going off behind my Humvee and would freckle the back of my Humvee. But we kept on going. We all survived. But a lot of troops did not. And you go to Walter Reed when you're a mom, and it is it's a whole new thing. It's a whole new thing. You see kids without faces, arms, legs, kept alive on respirators, and you're like, we can't do this. So I started the Army's electronic warfare program. I had a unique technological background to do it. And then when I retired in 2010, they wanted to send me back overseas, and my little boys came to me, and one of them tugged at my shirt, and he goes, Mama, it's time to take work off. So I'd been in for 26 years. I thought I repaid my debt to the country, and I said, okay, we will take work off. But I started a company. The Army still hadn't figured out to stop IEDs, so I started a company to do it. So that was in Northern Virginia because something about Army brats, they get sick of being moved around. So my time in the swamp, when you get assigned to the Pentagon, you get assigned to the Pentagon. And frankly, as colonel, it's a promotion. It's like being assigned to an ambassador. Now, if you're lucky, you get to be assigned to the ambassador of, I don't know, Italy, someplace nice, right? But if you're not lucky, you get assigned to the Pentagon to be the ambassador of, can I say the word shithole? Because it's miserable. The Pentagon is another combat tour. It's full of hate and discontent. And everyone's knifing each other to get their program in for the Army. And as a colonel, you may be a big deal out in combat. As a colonel in the Pentagon, you're a coffee person. So, and it's not a fun tour, but it's a critical tour. So I went where the Army sent me. And then I stayed in North Virginia because my little boys were good schools. And by God, they wanted to have their first chance as an Army brat to finish school there. So I ran a company there. My company was to stop soldiers from getting blown up with IEDs. Now, as far as being part of the swamp, what do you guys think of Elon Musk? Do you like Elon Musk? Because he's self-made, right? He can make his own decisions. Well, he's a hell of a lot smarter than I am. Do you like President Trump? Yes. President Trump is losing money doing this, right? Yes. Well, I will tell you that I have been blessed with a very good ability to understand some really weird and esoteric things when it goes to military defense. So I built a company up from zero, and I built it to a value of $43 million in 7 years. And I busted my butt. I am a workhorse, not a showhorse. got a concussion one time, falling off a horse. I couldn't do math because my brain was damaged. I made a Word document on how to add things up because I had to write out hard checks in my ledger to mail to my employees because I was too cheap to hire an HR person because I wanted that money for my kids. So here I am trying to figure it out. My husband's next to me. I'm like, how do I add these tables of figures because my brain can't do math right now. I got to hit the back of the head. So I'm self-made. If I remember the swamp, I'd be going up there to get rich. I sold my business in 2019. I don't need their money. I'm doing this like President Trump is doing this because I'm a mom. I don't want my kids to grow up in the totalitarianism that I have seen and I have fought. There's no way in hell I'm going to let that happen. And I'm going to fight not just for you, I'm fighting for my babies. And this is a mama bear. And this mama bear will not let anyone take over America. When it comes to being the swamp or any of that nonsense, I'm donating my pay back to the district. I will not take the time at the time.
Yeah. Yes.
I was blessed to have a great education from the military. They sent me to a lot of great schools that gave me the capability to develop things I did and to start a business and to sell a business. I was blessed from day one. I survived combat. I had a wonderful career. I had 2 little boys I adore. I've been married for 30 years to a Delta guy. And I remember praying before I went into combat, saying, God, you've overblessed me. You've given me everything I've ever wanted. Now help me survive this. And he did. And I feel that way again. God has given me everything I have ever wanted, to include a desire to work my butt off. And my way of paying him back is doing this, because God has this. We have to be watching him. God has this. He has us. The Father is telling us this is the right thing to do. We know who the good guys are in this fight. It doesn't take a genius. We know who the bad guys are in this fight. We are the good guys. And so God's telling me to do this. It's my way to pay him back. It's my way to give back. And we're going to win. So you know what? It's a good question about the swamp. Don't worry about it. I don't want their money. I don't need it. I'm not afraid of anyone. There's nobody I have to please up there. I am my own agent. The people who put me there are the only people who matter in this fight. Seriously. Do I have to go suck up to anybody on the Hill? No. Are they electing me? No. Do I want them to throw money at me? I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm ethical. I mean, no. No, thanks for letting me talk about that. Thank you for letting me talk about that. Because I know, man, it was a tough primary. Steel sharpens steel. It's all good. But now it's time to do this.